What's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. President Joseph Biden said MAGA proposals are a threat to the very soul of this country on Twitter. I remember when MAGA proposals were very similar to moderate Democrat proposals.
We must create a system that converts the current flow of primarily low-skilled illegal immigrants into the United States into a more manageable and controlled flow of legal immigrants who can be absorbed by our economy.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer used to sound very similar to President Trump on border security.
The first of these 7 principles is that illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple.
Until he got into office, and then they started being actors, crying, and pretending like it was racist. So we're going to revisit that speech, and remember that MAGA proposal that used to be a Democrat proposal. And also, hilariously enough, Mexicans in Mexico City are complaining about Americans immigrating there and saying it's ruining their cultural norms, prices, sounding a lot like Americans who say the same thing about immigration here.
You're thinking of moving to Mexico City? Wow, one simple recommendation. Gentrification is the name of the game.
Critics say the flood of Americans has caused an increase in the cost of basic necessities for locals.
We're gonna watch that full Al Jazeera clip. It's pretty funny. And then we'll chat about it. Here's Chuck Schumer before Trump got into office, and the show starts after that.
We must create a system that converts the current flow of primarily low-skilled illegal immigrants into the United States into a more manageable and controlled flow of legal immigrants who can be absorbed by our economy. Let me elaborate. The first of these 7 principles is that illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. Until the American people are convinced that we will stop future flows of illegal immigration, we will make no progress on dealing with the millions of illegal immigrants who are here now and on rationalizing our system of legal immigration. It's plain and simple and unavoidable. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose. If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it. I think it is illegal and wrong, and we have to change it. Above all else, the American people want their government to be serious about protecting the public, enforcing the rule of law, and creating a rational system of legal immigration that will proactively fit our needs rather than reactively responding to future waves of illegal immigration. People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally. To the advocates for strong, fair, effective, comprehensive immigration reform, and I'm certainly one, I say to you that the American people will never accept immigration reform unless they truly believe that their government is committed to ending future illegal immigration, and any successful comprehensive immigration reform bill must recognize this fact.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Happy Labor Day. Hope you're enjoying yourself. And it's almost season where everything tastes like pumpkin, and Joe Biden tells you that something bad is going to happen to you if you don't get a big pharma injection. So that's fall. It's the season of pumpkin spice and booster shots. But anyway, jokes aside, I wanted to play that clip of Chuck Schumer because Biden said MAGA proposals are a threat to this country on Twitter. And I tried to post that under it where it's like, listen, what MAGA proposal are you talking about? Because when it comes to Trump, he says a lot of things, but outside of the election 2020 stuff he's saying, everything he's saying in 2016, whether it's border security, like low crime, these are things that have been Democrat proposals in the past. So I just wanted to kind of hold a mirror up to them and show them, you know, this MAGA proposal that you say is a threat to our country. At one point, the border security used to be a Chuck Schumer proposal, and anybody with half a brain understood it. So
this is the game they're playing. If they just opposed a few things that Trump did that were wrong and were like, here's the right thing to do, then maybe people that were smart would believe them. But instead, they're trying to act as if the entire thing is a threat when everybody knows that there's a lot of common sense talking points, border security being an obvious one, that everybody could get behind if it was explained and they were told the truth about. But instead, they cry racism at what they used to say a couple years ago. Speaking of something that's very fascinating, here's a clip, I broke it into 3, of Mexicans from Mexico City complaining about American immigration. And they sound exactly like conservatives and Republicans in America complaining about illegal immigration coming from South America and Mexico. It's pretty funny. Just the lack of self-awareness that they have, or rather the, tables turning, is pretty funny in my opinion. Let's watch.
This is what some Mexicans are calling modern colonialism. The heavy influx of Americans moving to Mexico City to take advantage of lower living costs. Other locals are calling it gentrification, a plague, or even an invasion.
Wait!
Behind you!
Oh my God!
You're thinking of moving to Mexico City? Wow. One simple recommendation. .com. Gentrification is the name of the game.
Critics say the flood of Americans has caused an increase in the cost of basic necessities for locals.
I'm sorry, it's so funny. So I guess a bunch of Americans are going to Mexico City for cheaper prices, maybe to escape some pandemic restrictions at the time. I don't know. And you got a bunch of Mexicans now being like, go home, we don't like you. They're calling it a plague. Could you imagine if you called immigration a plague? They call you racist. They say, oh my gosh, you hate all Mexicans, whatever. They lie about you. But they're hosting this and being like, yeah, it's a plague. It's pretty, I don't know. I find it hilarious. But let's play the second clip.
Rent has more than doubled for some. This is not to mention that Mexico City residents already spend an average of 60% of their income on housing.
The same people moving are the same ones who complain when immigrants come to America. And of course, natives are upset, as they should be.
Many Americans moving to Mexico City are working remotely and still getting paid in US dollars. Some locals have benefited from increasing tourism, but for many, that doesn't balance out rising costs and inflation. Mexicans are also fed up with Americans ignoring cultural and social norms.
They said Mexicans are getting fed up with Americans ignoring cultural norms. It's fascinating how everybody in the world could have a culture except for America. If you go to Mexico and you start changing their culture, they're like, hey, we're kind of fed up with it, which is totally fine. I agree with them. Americans, calm down. But you go to Europe, oh no, France shouldn't be France. It should be something else. Europe and America should diversify and have no culture, but the rest of the world should just do whatever they want. So it's like, okay, is China diversifying? Oh, China doesn't seem to be getting very ethnically ambiguous. Interesting. Is South Korea, North Korea, is Japan diversifying? Not really. They're mostly Asian over there and mostly where they're from. Is Africa diversifying? Maybe a little bit, but not really. It seems to me like the only places that are really diversifying, aka completely flipping demographics, is Europe and America. Isn't that fascinating? But when the reverse of Mexico to America happens, all of a sudden it's okay to talk about the change of cultural norms. It's okay to talk about border, security and having your own identity. Isn't that just interesting? Anybody paying attention already knows this stuff, but I find clips like this just super funny. Let's play the third clip because it's like they're acting like conservatives in America, except they're like liberals in Mexico City. Pretty funny.
That in certain places, English is more common than Spanish. Local businesses are being forced to shut down and replaced by cafes.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but they're starting to complain that English is even more common than Spanish. Wow. Sounds like if someone... Imagine, people in America, they're like, oh, there's too much Spanish here, not enough English. People are like, you're racist. There's too much English in Mexico. They're like, that's fine. It's just funny. I'm not going to cry racism. I don't think what they're doing is racist in Mexico. I think it's totally understandable. It's like if you speak Spanish and you're Mexican and a bunch of white people start coming in and the prices start rising and things start changing and it's more uncomfortable for you, they have a total right to feel that way. But on the flip side, people in America also have the right to their opinion on it as well. That's all I'll say. We'll watch the last clip.
That in certain places, English is more common than Spanish. Local businesses are being forced to shut down and replaced by cafes and Pilates studios.
People who live in Mexico City and people who work in Mexico City, including myself, we want to get a place, but it's really difficult because the prices are so high, and even with a good salary, it's very difficult. You're still bragging about how cheap it is and how it's not even like a quarter of your rent in LA, and it's messed up, right?
Sorry, I'm just like laughing at the fact they're like, white people are moving in and there's Pilates studios showing up. It's like, whoo, the crazy white women in their Pilates and cheap coffee shops, or, you know, hipster coffee shop. It's like, oh no, the white people are coming and they're bringing their yoga mats. It's like that gentrification. Price goes up, crime goes down, Pilates studios go up, and an expensive coffee. It's very frightening. I know it's happened all over my country. I'm trying to figure out where the hamburgers are. But jokes aside, pretty funny stuff. It's kind of like when Governor Abbott sends a bunch of illegal immigrants to New York City, where he's like, who cares, blah, 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 everybody's racist. And then they get like 1,000 illegal immigrants, and they're like, whoa, this is going to burden our state. It's like, yeah, how do you think Arizona and Texas feel if a little bit burdens you? So it's like every country. And I think, you know, to not just laugh and complain about it, the solution is people just being honest, authentic, and, you know, getting the message across to people and letting them know what the truth is. Because, you know, a lot of people are caught in their echo chambers. They just repeat the same stuff. Everybody just fights with each other all the time. But there is a way to explain what's going on and really get more people on your side, because as it starts happening all over the world, you know, everybody's going to figure this stuff out. And people do have a right to their culture. People do have a right to their heritage. People do have a right to disagree with what's happening socially. Like, you know, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Mexican, South American, you're allowed to have an opinion about where you want to live. If you don't want everybody speaking English there because you speak Spanish, although all those people seem to speak very good English, you know, you have a right. You have a right to say, I don't want you in my country. I mean, I have a cowboy hat. I'm a fun guy. I mean, I don't, you know, you don't got to kick me out. But if you say I don't belong there or something, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just going to be like, I disagree. Or, you know, I think the world would be better if everybody stopped calling each other racist all the time and actually had intellectual discussions about society, race, culture, language, border security, barriers, and, you know, that would be very easy to solve stuff. I want to play one more clip real quick because I just found it pretty funny. It's Joe Biden like screaming hysterically like a psychotic psychiatric patient / geriatric patient about like fighting Big Pharma. Let's watch.
Man, not this year. We beat Pharma this year. We beat Pharma this year, and it mattered. We're going to change people's lives.
Joe Biden is a psycho. Say what you want about Trump. I mean, I have a lot to say about Trump, but like, he doesn't have this angry energy. He definitely has, like, he can be a troll. Trump really isn't that angry. He's more like, ugh. He's always like Joe. He sounds like a clown to me, but like, he's never like screaming aggressively in your face. Even he's like, build a wall. What? Just build it. Just build the wall. Like, he's not like, build the freaking wall. Like, that's never been how Trump is. He's not an angry person. Biden screams all the time, and it's just really weird. Even if I disagreed with him, I'd be like, bro, you're freaking me out. It doesn't come across like passionate, like, we're fighting Big Pharma for humanity, and everyone's like, woo! You know, like, that's passion. Trump's more like funny and trolly. But Biden's more like angry. Like, if he was at the, you know, nursing home, it's like, I want my pudding! I want my pudding! Give me everything! Like, dude, chill out. Just wait in line. You know, just because you're the president doesn't mean all these old people, you know, don't deserve their pudding before you. But like, listen to his energy. He really creeps me out.
Man, not this year. We beat Pharma this year. We beat Pharma this year, and it mattered. We're going to change people's lives.
I think he thinks if you scream at people, then they're going to believe you. Like, you know, it's like he doesn't believe himself because obviously he's not really fighting Big Pharma. Wow, you lowered drug prices, but you just rolled out the red carpet for vaccine manufacturers. Good job. But it's like, you know, it's like, we beat Big Pharma. Maybe if I yell it at you, y'all believe me. You have to believe me. He like turns around up here. Oh my gosh, you know, this guy might hit me. No, you know, it's like he turns around and screams at the audience and they're like, yeah, I mean, right, we have to clap. He might throw a fit. So, yeah, oh yeah, you're really fighting Big Pharma. The Democrats are like, we lowered drug prices. It's like, you guys are the most pro-pharma shills on the planet. Republicans are not far behind, but it's like, you're fighting Big Pharma, really, when you're not even allowing people to criticize Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson while they're making single-handedly the most expensive or most, you know, profit margin that's ever been done in pharma history. I believe Pfizer just shattered records, but you're going to like just totally cover for them, but you're going to lower some drug prices. That's nice. Cool. I mean, that's good. It's good to have lower drug prices, but I'm always skeptical when they act like they're actually fighting pharma. Pretty wild. I'm going to keep this one pretty short and brief and try to somewhat enjoy my day, although I do like to work on Labor Day. I like to be a counterculture. When everybody takes off, I like to work. But that's the story of the day. First thing I wanted to say to the Democrats and to Joe Biden, excuse me, my voice shook a little. But, you know, saying MAGA proposal is a threat to this country is very broad. Like, Trump has 20 things he talks about. I would say most of them are pretty common sense. Whether he'll actually do them or, you know, doesn't seem like it will happen. But some of it does, some of it doesn't. But to just sit there and say every proposal that this guy has, Trump pretty much, because he's the MAGA guy, every proposal he has is a threat to our country. That's why I got to play the clip of Chuck Schumer and be like, you know, a lot of these proposals were your proposals years ago, very similar. And if you really, and I know I'm talking into the wind because Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer, they're a bunch of frauds. But if you really wanted to unite the country, I know you don't, but if you really wanted to and you really wanted to like gain my trust and people who, you know, maybe could, I'm not going to vote the other way, but you get what I'm saying? If you really wanted me to respect you, be like, okay, you know, what Trump's doing is wrong, but here's the right thing. That would make more sense. Like, this is how it's wrong and this is what's right, but you guys lie about everything. It's like you're acting as if border security is a threat when you know it's not. We know you're lying. You know you're lying. I know that you know that everybody knows you're lying, but you keep lying. You know, everything. It's like, what is he saying that is that crazy besides the election stuff, which, by the way, Democrats also kind of did in 2016. If they were to be like, you shouldn't be able to challenge an election, maybe I would respect the Democrats for saying that if they didn't do that in 2016. But it's like, you guys were lying the whole time. It's like, oh, it was the Bernie bros. It was the Russia bots. It was the, you know, Putin. It's like, you guys never accepted the 2016 election. So how can you then turn and say that's the big threat? Outside of that, I don't know what else the policy he has that's really that crazy. It's not, maybe you don't like Trump as a person, but his actual agenda of making America great, the problem was that he didn't actually do it, that he fell for the lockdown stuff and everything got reversed good that he did. But the actual idea of the things he's talking about are not that crazy. So when Joe Biden says they're a threat to the country, what are you talking about, bro? Everybody knows you're lying. It's fine, though. Then I had to just show the Mexican people, not all of them, but some of them are really mad at American immigration. They think it's driving up prices, it's changing the language, it's bringing in too many Pilates shops, which I agree, there only needs to be a few. It's just funny to see them crying now after decades of us being told we're racist for saying the same things in America. And I'll just leave it at that note for the most part. I think everybody of every ethnic group, religion, race, you have a right to feel your way. You have a right to not want to see things change in your state, city, or country. And the only way we're ever going to really figure stuff out is if we actually debate about it and take things into consideration. And sometimes it's good to disagree, and it's good to understand Mexico's Mexico, America's America. So they're not the same place. Los Angeles is not the same as, you know, a Texas rural area. It's okay to disagree. We got to stop acting like everybody has to agree with us, figure out what we want, and then separate based on how we feel in our local communities. So I'm glad Mexico's kind of getting a taste of their own medicine. It's like, yeah, things will change when new people come in. That's just how society works. And you have every right to want things to change, and you have every right to not want things to change. I know if I live in a nice area that has no crime, I don't want it to turn into a place with a lot of crime. That's just how I feel. It's like, I don't want to live where I just left. And, you know, people feel like that in Tennessee, Texas, Arizona. It's like, if you're coming from California because you don't like the prices, it's too high, taxes are too high, we're paying too much, then don't turn it into California. If you leave, vote for the other side that allowed that state that you're in to be affordable. Simple stuff. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. And I'm going to keep with this one short. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for supporting on all fronts. And feel free to share this video if you like it. I'll be back